John Grisham, you don't just write legal thrillers, you are the acknowledged global master of the legal thriller. Do you still read legal thrillers that aren't by you?
Yes. Scott Turow, and Scott published Presumed Innocent in 1987. It was it sort of electrified the genre. Presumed Innocent really motivated me to finish writing A Time to Kill.
Because one thing you've never been shy of is the commercial appeal for you.
Sure, I want to sell books. I want to see if I can write a book that'll sell. My motives were pure with A Time to Kill. Initially, I had a story to tell.
And that was the story there of a father who tries to seek and pursue and hunt down, kill the people who've raped his own daughter. And you had, as a lawyer, overheard a story similar to that.
I'd seen it in courtroom one day. I was not involved in the case, but I'd seen this testimony of a little girl who'd been through this horrible ordeal, and it inspired me to create this drama, and I started writing it.
You've written, I think, a book a year since then, almost all of them legal thrillers. Is there anything else left for you to do with this form?
Yeah, there are a lot of stories to tell. The material is endless, and there are also a lot of issues I want to write about.
For example?
Well, prison overcrowding. We have 2.4 million people in prison in the U.S., the highest incarceration rate by far in the civilized world. We got all these guys in prison that, you know, maybe shouldn't be there. Maybe they should be doing something else. There's an issue there that could be a legal thriller.
But it is still lawyers and the law that captures your interest. I mean, you could be looking at the Arab Spring and thinking, oh, there's a great story in there, but your interest is in stories about lawyers.
That's what still grabs my curiosity. That's what still inspires me to take a real story, twist it here and there, crunch it through a hyperactive imagination to see what happens. You know, writers are thieves. We steal everything, and so I'm always looking for stories to poach.
It's been a very long time since you were a working lawyer yourself. Do you still feel able to feel absolutely in touch with and sort of authentically describing a legal world that, as a practitioner, you haven't been in for more than 2 decades?
20 years. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends who are lawyers, and I'm always leaning on them to, to bring me up to speed with what the law is or the procedures.
I'm just thinking, John le Carré, it's been probably 55 years since he was in intelligence, but he's still
a spy.
He can still do it because he knows how that world thinks.
Well, and also I'm not intimidated by it. I can read 10 pages of a book about lawyers and tell you if the writer is a lawyer, because oftentimes they're not, and they'll make some small mistake there that a lawyer wouldn't make. It's just because I know that terrain, I know the territory, and I'm very comfortable there.
Who else do you read, for either for pleasure or for influence, for ideas, for inspiration?
One is John le Carré. He's one of my favorites. Every 4 or 5 years, I'm going to read Little Drummer Girl, because I think it's a masterpiece.
And are you looking at it as a fellow technician and thinking, oh, that's how he moves from that to that? Yeah.
Stylistically, there are sentences in there that I could never write, and I know that. But technically, I want to know how he does it. The setup is so well done, and it always inspires me to do better.
What about old classic sort of writers, perhaps?
I was in the bookstore in Washington, D.C. in the airport, and realized I hadn't brought a book. And I bought a Mark Twain book called Roughing It that I read probably 30 years ago about his days out west mining for silver. And it's typical Mark Twain. It's hilarious, okay? Every paragraph has got something funny in there that you just laugh out loud. And that's what I enjoy reading.
If you've got time to read those books, does that mean you're not writing 365 days a year? How's your year broken up?
Very structured, very disciplined. To publish in late October, I have to have a good solid first draft in New York by the 1st of July. To do that, I have to start writing the 1st of January. I'll start each day at about 7:30. My office has no phones, faxes, internet. Where I write, it's an old converted building behind our old house way out in the country. And I can walk 50 feet to the house, to the kitchen to get more coffee, and there's my laptop with emails and all that. I'll check in with the world.
So the writing room remains a sanctuary?
It's a sanctuary, and nobody goes in it. When you write with a purpose each day for 3 or 4 hours, 5 days a week, the pages pile up. While I'm writing a book, I may get the idea for the next one. I may get a great idea, or an old idea may come back. I'm thinking about a book about golf, because I started playing golf 3 years ago, and it's a nightmare. But just
a novel or non-fiction book about
probably
golf.
non-fiction about golf, and how frustrating it is to take up a sport in your mid-50s and try to become not competitive, but just to be able to play the game properly.
Little known about you is that you're not just a former lawyer, you are a former politician. You were in the State House in Mississippi, I think, for 7 years. Surveying the political landscape of your country, I'm very taken by the fact that your book will come out probably the last Tuesday, a full week before the presidential election of 2012. What's your assessment of where your country is?
Politically, it's not good. You know, it's still a great country, and we deserve better leaders than what we've got. Congress is a mess. It's so split now and partisan that there's no effort to really work together to get it to pass any kind of meaningful legislation. Both parties are guilty of it. It's a really nasty environment.
From reading the books, you feel to me a liberal, small L liberal. The Chamber, which came out 70 years ago, kind of an essay against the death penalty. I mean, you have that sort of politics. Has the centre of gravity moved very much further away from that, do you think?
Yeah, I think we're growing more and more conservative. A lot of that is 8 years of George W. Bush shoved us that way. And then his Supreme Court now basically has, I think, pretty much a 5-4 majority. And it's going to be that way for a long time, unless something, you know, there's some unexpected change. So the court moves to the right. All courts are moving to the right. We're just kind of getting there. In the South now, all Southern legislatures are all Republican, and they're going toward the right.
Are you disappointed in Obama?
Yes. Yes. I was a big supporter of Hillary Clinton because I was a big supporter of Bill Clinton. She had a lot of experience, still has a lot of experience. And during that 2008 primary season, we kept, it was a very tough fight with Obama, and we kept thinking and saying, this guy, he's not experienced. He hasn't been tested. He hasn't been in the U.S. Senate for less than 2 years. You know, what has he really done? Where does he come from? And I think a lot of that inexperience has been proven.
Financially, you had this backing. Have you not been tempted? You clearly think about your country.
Last year, our senator from Virginia, Jim Webb, announced he was not going to seek re-election. He won by 10,000 votes barely 6 years ago. And my name gets thrown around as someone who may run. I don't know who starts these rumors. I was finally asked by a reporter if it was true, and I said, let me be very clear about this. I would not take a seat in the U.S. Senate if it were given to me free of charge, uncontested, and a guaranteed second term. I don't want the job. I know several U.S. senators, and they're all frustrated by the process. You can't get anything done. There's so much gridlock and so much partisan bickering. You kill my bill, I'm going to kill your bill. The Republicans kill this, the Democrats are going to kill that. And so you have some really smart people in the Senate, some really successful men and women who are there who are so frustrated. I wouldn't want to do that. My life is too good to screw up, okay? I'm a lucky guy. I get to come to London and promote books and go anywhere I want to go and travel and write and, you know, play all the golf I want to play. Why would I want to change that, okay, to go off to Washington? So I'm not going to do it.